Dimensional storage. This skill will allow the user to store items into its shadow storage. As long as there is a shadow nearby, you can take out and put in items as you wish. This includes your very own shadow underneath your feet. If only I had this skill sooner, Quinn thought. While Quinn's system allowed him to store crystals and specific ability books inside, it did not allow him to store anything else, so the dimensional storage was a great skill to have. Shadow Control Level 1 allows the user to control their own shadow. The description was short and didn't really reveal much. Even if he could control his own shadow, what use was that? Quinn then looked at the Skills tab again. At the moment, he was able to see 10 skills in total, while the rest were covered. Next to each skill was a number. Shadow Cloak Level 1, 10 skill points to unlock. There were multiple skills, but the Shadow Cloak was the only one that he was able to unlock right now. His excitement got the better of him, and as long as he could unlock the other skills later on, what was there to worry about? You have successfully unlocked Shadow Cloak Level 1. This skill allows you to use your own shadow to surround you into the darkness. Your opponents will struggle to see you depending on their level of perception, best used in the shadow or at night. It wasn't exactly what he was expecting, but it seemed like it was a type of invisibility cloak, one that would work well on beasts that were weak but not those of a higher level. Quinn then stood up from the ground and was ready to test out his skills. He could see that Vorden was still walking around the stadium, seeing if he could find anything. It was hard for Vorden to see, due to the lights being broken, and he didn't have the same type of vision as Quinn. That meant the whole room was dark. Perfect. Shadow Cloak activated. -1 MC for every 10 seconds of use. His own shadow below started to lift up from the ground and slowly crept up his body, from his toes to his knees, all the way to the top strands of hair on his head. As Quinn walked around the arena, he could see that his MC stat was like a bar. While using the skill, it was slowly going down. Vorden immediately jumped back and attracted a chair into his hand. Vorden went to repel the chair, throwing it in Quinn's direction. "Hey, wait, it's just me," Quinn said, as he deactivated his skill and could be seen ducked down. "What the hell, Quinn? You almost gave me a heart attack. Do you not remember just seconds ago I was fighting to the death against you?" Vorden complained. "I've been on high alert since." "Sorry," Quinn said, as he let out a little nervous laugh. "But man, you already know how to use the shadow ability already? And that seemed like a skill?" Vorden asked, amazed. "Like I said, when I read that book, it seems like all the information was inserted into my head. All I have to do is think about it, and I can do it." Vorden then walked over towards Quinn and took out his hand. "Do you mind this time?" Vorden asked. "Sure, go ahead." "An ability has been detected. Ability has been blocked." "What's the meaning of this?" Quinn asked inside his head to the AI system. "The system will try its best to do whatever it can to help the user. It will tell you when abilities are being used on you and all sorts." "Can I temporarily cancel the feature?" Quinn asked. "It's not really a feature. It's just informing you of what your vampire body is naturally doing. Besides, even if the boy could copy your ability, he wouldn't be able to use it." "What do you mean?" "That skill book you used is specific for vampire cells. This is the reason why he can't copy it. Your body structures are completely different, but you could always turn him into a blooded one." "Would you like to activate the blood skill ritual?" "Yes? No?" Quinn was wondering what the blood ritual was. After all, there wasn't much information revealed about it. But now that the system was offering for Vorden to become a blooded one, it all became clear to him. It was a ritual that would allow Vorden to turn into some type of vampire. In the end, though, Quinn decided it wasn't his decision to make. "Hey, Vorden, if you had the option, or let's say if I could turn you into a vampire, would you?" Quinn asked. "I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything like that, but the answer would be no," Vorden replied. "Being weak for most of the day, sure, it's fine while we're on a planet like this, but besides, what would happen to my ability?" "Yeah, sorry, Vorden, it probably would get rid of your ability," Quinn said. "I just thought I would ask. You might have been one of those types obsessed with vampires." The two of them then started to head down the stadium floor, an area that was designed for combat. They had been looking around the room for an hour now, and it seemed like they were unable to find a place where the portal could be. They needed to make a decision, whether or not to leave the training center and head outside to look for another place. But before deciding any of that, Quinn wanted to get the hang of his new skills. Vorden was also interested and thought he might be able to help, since he had experience with using elemental abilities before. The two continued to do more tests with the dimensional storage. Quinn found out that not only his shadow could be used to gain access to things, but also Vorden's shadow or any shadow cast by the wall and buildings. Shadow Control Level 1 active. Then inside Quinn's mind, something had clicked. He felt like he had a new set of arms he could control. The shadow underneath his legs was alive and could freely move about. He lifted the shadow, and it was like a dark moving mist that continually surrounded him. I guess the skill is limited to just the shadow around you for now. It's like a level 1 Earth ability, said Vorden. I wonder why it needs so many mutant cells to activate and is considered a level 6. Using the shadow around him, Quinn was able to extend it out and lift the small piece of metal that he pulled from his dimension earlier. It was like controlling another person. Well, now that you got the hang of it, you want to spar a little? Vorden asked. Now the two of them stood opposite each other, ready to have a friendly fight. Vorden this time had a couple of metal balls hovering around him, instead of spikes. Be careful, Quinn. Although these might not be like the spikes, they can still do a lot of damage. It's all right, Vorden. My body can handle it. Not using his full strength, Vorden repelled the ball at a decent speed, heading towards Quinn. The ball left the shadow wall and slammed right into Quinn's stomach, falling to the ground. Ah! Quinn shouted as he tried to breathe in some air. Well, I wasn't expecting that, Vorden said. Try again, Quinn groaned. Let's see how physical attacks work, Vorden said as he moved forward and swung a long metal pipe he had in his hand. Vorden continued to attack with the metal pipe, and Quinn continued to block, moving the shadow in the areas where Vorden was attacking. That's when he realized something. Every time Quinn would hit his shadow, his MC points would go down by a chunk. Then when Vorden was about to attack one more time, "Wait, stop, Vorden!" Quinn shouted. His shadow had vanished, and he had run out of MC points. The shadow acted as a type of shield. It wasn't solid enough to block attacks, but would be able to slow them down. Well, I can see why your ability is a level 6 now, Vorden said. I think it's more to do with how freely you can use the shadow, and my example would be the skills. Quinn was happy with the results of the shadow ability, and hearing Vorden talk about made him feel even more confident. With the spar over, the two of them decided that once Quinn was fully rested and his MT points were back, they would exit out of the training center and go exploring again. After all, if they did nothing, they would soon start to starve, and Vorden didn't want another instance where Quinn got too hungry. Suddenly, 4 people appeared holding hands together on the street. As soon as they saw where they were, they immediately let go. Is everyone here? Faye asked as she did a head count. The homeroom teacher Dell was here, although he was still wearing clothing like he was ready to teach. Then there was the doctor, Haley. She was dressed more appropriately, with high-end beast gear all over. She didn't look like her usual self in her white robe and looked almost intimidating. Then there was Leo. He was wearing light armor that fitted tightly to the skin, similar to Faye. Both of their abilities focused on speed, so it was important not to wear something too heavy. All right, our goal is to find the children, Faye said. The rescue team had arrived. On Dell's back was a fairly large rucksack that looked quite heavy. As he walked with the group, his footsteps stomped the ground and his back was arched. Why do I have to carry this thing? Dell complained. Right now you're the weakest of us 4, right? Faye replied. So if you want us to protect you, it's best that you carry the portable teleporter. Fine, I understand that, but why even the need to bring the portable teleporter in the first place? Isn't the teleporter fine on this end? Dell asked. It's back up, Leo said. Look around you and look at this shelter. It was basically the size of a city. Don't you think they had people protecting it as strong as us? I don't want to stay on this planet for long, and I don't want to find out what destroyed this shelter. Leo walked up front and using his ability allowed him to see an aura around things. A beast's aura was always red, while humans, yellow. It also allowed him to see the aura through most objects, such as building walls and so on, allowing them to avoid any confrontation with beasts. As they continued to walk, Haley had a question on her mind. I've always wondered, which of you two are stronger? Haley asked. The two up front suddenly froze, and Dell looked at Haley like she had no sense of personal questions. Hey, you can't just ask something like that, Dell whispered. It's okay, Faye said. I can easily answer for you. It's Leo. I don't know if you two know this, but we had to practically beg him to join our ranks after the first war. Back then, he was only a private, but he had made so many accomplishments. It was unbelievable. Leo didn't say anything after that, in fact. He never spoke much in the first place. Finally, the group had arrived just outside the training center. We'll make sure the portal is safe first, and then after we will go out looking for the kids, Faye said. The entrance looks clear, said Leo. They walked onward and eventually saw the dead Rataclaws just outside of the entrance. What happened here? Haley asked. Do you think it was the kids? I think you mean kid, Dell added. Only one of them has an ability, remember? Ah, Vorden is the original, correct. His ability is to copy that of others. Although we don't really know how it works, it could be possible. If he copied a strong ability, then I could see him being able to kill these rats, said Faye. Well, if we find Vorden, we can go home, right? Dell asked. Are you suggesting we leave and not bother looking for the other one? Leo asked. The mission stated to only find Vorden. Anyone else is considered a bonus. Would you risk your lives for one student? When I joined that war, what do you think I was doing? Leo asked. I was risking my life for the sake of everyone. Enough, you two, Faye snapped. Technically, Dell is correct, but I see you are passionate about this. We will scout the nearby area using your ability. If we find nothing, then we leave. Fair? Leo didn't say much and started to walk up to the door. He drew out his katana blade and readied himself. Isn't that door made out of glathrium? It's one of the hardest materials we know of. It's why this training center remained unharmed in the first place, Dell said, chuckling at the idiotic attempt Leo was about to make. I'm assuming you wanted to know why Leo is stronger than I am? Faye asked. Leo slashed the door with one swing. No sound was made, and it seemed like the door wasn't even touched. Then, a few seconds later, a vertical slash was seen in the door, and the top half fell backwards onto the floor. That's why, said Faye. After entering through the glathrium door, they continued to walk in the hallway, which was covered in darkness. Dell couldn't get out of his head how easily Leo was able to break the door. It wasn't like Dell was a student. He was a professor, too. He had participated in the war back then as well, and never saw anything like what he saw today. However, it was clear to Dell that what Leo was using was at least a top-level beast-tier weapon. They had entered the reception area, where several doorways were leading to different sections of the training center. Wait, stop, Haley said to Leo and Faye up front. She bent down and studied the ground. Can you see what this is? It's blood and leading that way, she said as she pointed to the living quarters. How can you tell which direction it's coming from the stadium as well? Dell asked. Well, the blood tail, you can see that it's heading in the direction, and there's a lot of it, almost as if someone was dragged this way. Come on, let's hurry. It could be one of the students, Faye said. They followed the trail until finally it led them to the hallway with a broken door outside and a ripped-apart chair. Faye peeked her head into the room with the broken door and immediately turned away. Haley, I think you better take a look at this, Faye said. Haley took over and went inside the room, while Dell also took a look and turned his head away. Did you see the body? Dell said. Its body was ripped in half, guts spilling everywhere. Leo, who was standing next to him, turned his head and looked him in the eye. No, I didn't see anything. I haven't done so in a while now. Haley continued to examine the body. She went around the man's neck. Underneath his beast armor, she pulled out a colored dog tag. Again, 2 bite marks on the neck, just like the other students, Haley thought. Is there really a beast inside the academy somewhere? The same thing that killed this man? Or is it something else? Haley then stood up from the body and walked forward. Do you want the good news or bad news? She said. Just tell us everything, Faye replied. Well, the good news is it's not one of the students. Haley then pulled out the tag, which was attached to a chain, and dangled it in front of the others. The bad news is he was from one of the big 4 families. Each person's face dropped as soon as they heard the news. Which one? Faye asked. The tag says, True Dream. Faye immediately slammed her fist against the wall as she heard those words. Why them out of all the families? The big 4 families were the ones who had the power to rival the military. However, the True Dream family was the most unique out of the 4. They had the closest connection with the military, enough even to have a seat at the council table. This was all because of the head of the family, who had the ability to steal others' abilities. If anyone ever tried to rebel against the army, then they would get a visit from the True Dream leader, and they could never use their ability again. We can leave him here for now, but it's best before we leave we bring his body and take it to the True Dream family. It's a pain, but they should be thankful we brought back one of their own, Faye said. After leaving the body be, They decided to follow the trail of blood back outside and into the stadium. And that's when they spotted the two kids lying down on the floor. "They're here! What luck!" Dell said as he ran forward. Haley, Faye, and Dell immediately went forward, while Leo was the only one who stayed back. For in the center of the arena, he could see a color of aura he had never seen before, one which was purple. Before the rescue team had arrived, Vorden and Quinn were both sitting down in the center of the arena. "Hey, I just noticed something," Vorden said as he pointed at Quinn's wrist. Quinn lifted his hand and looked at it, and even he was surprised by what he was seeing. The number on his wristwatch was still saying he was a level 1. "I thought you said it would change when I activated my MC points." "Well, that's what's supposed to happen." Vorden then placed his hand on his chin as he thought about it for a while. "Do you think it's because you're a vampire? Just like how I can't copy your shadow ability, the watch might not be able to measure your type of MC in your body." Hearing this news, Quinn was actually a little upset. He was looking forward to being able to use his powers freely. As a level 6 user, people would no longer challenge him just as he walked around the school. But now, if he showed he had shadow powers and the number on his wristwatch still indicated 1, they would be just as suspicious about him. "I think it's best if you hide your shadow ability for now," said Vorden. "You've already hidden your vampire abilities for this song. You can hide your shadow abilities, right?" Vorden could see Quinn was a little downhearted by the news he had given him. "Don't look so down," said Vorden. "If we find someone in the school that's good at technology, we can get them to tinker with the watch. Plus, look at the bright side. The military tournament is coming up, and it would be good if you hide your ability until then. Show everyone on the big stage. Besides, if you come back with a level 6 now, they would be more shocked about how you learnt it so fast, so it works in our favor." Hearing those words did cheer Quinn up a bit. Just then, the sergeants and professors had entered the room, and surprisingly, the first person who ran up to both of them was their homeroom teacher, Dell. "I'm so glad you're both safe," he said with tears rolling down his face. Quinn and Vorden thought it was sweet and didn't realize the homeroom teacher cared about them so much. But the truth was, Dell didn't care about either of them at all. He was filled with tears of joy that they wouldn't have to stay in this scary place any longer. Haley then came over to the two of them and did a general checkup to see if they were okay. "You look a little different from the last time I saw you," Haley said. "You remember me?" Quinn asked. "Of course I do. I remember you taking that girl to my office at that time." Not many people even remembered what Quinn looked like after seeing him the first time, which is why the other teachers had no reaction when seeing him, so he was quite surprised. "Boys your age do grow quick. You're looking like a man already," she said, smiling. She didn't know why, but as she was touching Quinn all over, she could feel his bulging muscles. "Looks like the charm effect is working," the system said. "It's a shame you didn't save up all your stats and pull all your points into the thing. She would have confessed to you right here and now." Suddenly, she snapped out of it and took her hands away. After checking all their vitals were fine, she handed both of them a food pill. Although Quinn felt full, he decided to still take the pill regardless. However, as the pill went into Quinn's mouth and down his throat, he started coughing wildly. It was as if he was choking on the pill. "Is he choking?" Dell asked. Quinn continued to cough with his hands placed on his knees until he threw up all across the floor. Faye, who was standing by his side, had a worried look on her face. "Haley, quick, check up on him. There's blood in his vomit." Quinn hadn't eaten anything in the last 2 days. If this was the case with anyone else, then they would be starving with hunger. However, it wasn't the case for Quinn. Before eating the pill, he felt completely full, and he could guess the reason why. Ian's blood. For some reason, as soon as he took that pill, it was like his body was rejecting it. Inedible substance consumed. Haley rushed over to check on Quinn once again and placed him on the floor. She checked everything she could and even started to use her healing ability on his stomach. "A healing ability has been detected. Unable to block ability. 55 of 55 HP. "Thank you. I feel much better," Quinn said. "Your hunger grows." "Did you find out what's wrong with the boy?" Faye asked. "Not yet," Haley replied, "but I would need to take him back to the doctor's office when I get back." "Blood bank used. 90 of 100 milliliters. You are no longer hungry." "Are we ready to head off now?" Leo said, staring in the direction of Quinn. "Is he looking at me? Can't be right, he is blind after all." Now you two, Faye said, looking at Vorden and Quinn. When we head back, I want a detailed report of what happened. Although we have already heard the other side of the story, we would like to hear yours, so it matches up. You mean you know someone pushed us into the portal? Vorden asked. Yes, the second year who was responsible came forward and admitted it. General Duke is dealing with his punishment as we speak. The group started to walk around the training center, with the kids in the center and Faye leading the front. Behind them was Leo, and now Quinn was sure of it. Leo was staring at him intently. Could Leo have discovered Quinn now had an ability? But if so, why wasn't he saying anything? When we're back at the school, let's have a talk, just you and me. I promise I won't hurt you, he whispered. Finally, they had reached the reception room. At the desk, there was a computer with a passcode machine next to it. Faye input the code which allowed her to turn and log into the computer. After she typed away a few things, a large mechanical sound could be heard coming from the direction of the arena. The group returned from where they had just come, and this time when entering the stadium, rather than just the plain flooring on the arena floor, out from underneath, a large portal had been lifted and placed there. As the group walked closer to the portal, Quinn was beginning to hear his heart beat louder, and he wasn't the only one. "What's wrong, boy?" Leo said. "It's nothing," he replied. But it was a lie. After throwing up the food pill, it was clear to him that his body had changed after the last evolution. He could eat food, and now he couldn't. So what about other changes? Before, when walking into the sun, he would lose half his stats. What if this time he just burnt to ashes? The group stepped into the portal and exited out from the other end. As they opened their eyes, they could see they were in the training hall, the same one where Peter had pushed Quinn. "Vorden, you head back to class. There are some checks I still need to do on Quinn," Haley said. "Del, you're free to go, and Leo, you come with me. We will report this back to Nathan, telling him the mission is a success, and I'm guessing he will decide what to do with the True Dream body." The students were currently in the middle of their classes. Layla was sitting in her seat, hitting her pen constantly on her table. She moved it up and down in the middle with her fingers. It was something she would do whenever she had something on her mind. As soon as classes were over and she entered the hallway, she could hear all the other students mumbling away. "Did you hear? Apparently the missing students are back." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I saw Vorden walking back to the dorms, and Professor Dell was cheering out loudly in the hallway." "Vorden's back, but what about Quinn?" Layla thought. She immediately rushed over to the boys' dorm to see if the rumors she heard were true. She gathered her courage and knocked at the door. A few seconds later, and the last person she wanted to see had opened it. It was Vorden. "Look, let me just get to Chase. Where is Quinn?" Vorden smiled as soon as he saw who was at the door. "He's at the doctor's office." "Thank you," she said as she rushed off. "Wait!" Vorden shouted. As she turned around, she could still see a huge grin on his face. "You're not the only one that knows anymore," he said. "What do you mean?" Layla asked. Vorden then started to walk over to her slowly. The grin on his face was beginning to get creepier by the second. "I'm saying you're no longer special and not needed by him anymore, because I know." Layla turned and continued to run, and as she did, she had the final say, "I guess you're still a crazy boy." She ran and ran until eventually she had finally reached the doctor's office. "Quinn!" she said, surprised. For a moment she had to look him up and down a couple of times. His jawline, his clear skin, and just something about him was pulling her towards him. "What's going on?" she said. "Are you using some type of charm spell on me?" She had read enough vampire novels to know what was happening. Her mind was now running wild with thoughts. "Can you turn this thing off?" Quinn said in his head. "Of course, but I thought you would like this," the system replied. "Of course I do, but if it's like this, she won't really like me. It's just because of the system." Charm stat deactivated. Suddenly, Layla no longer had the urge. "Are you okay? What happened?" she asked. While no one else was in the office, Quinn proceeded to tell Layla everything that happened in the portal world. "I'm sorry I wasn't there," she said. "I said I would help you, but I couldn't." "Hey, don't worry about it," Quinn replied. "I wasn't expecting anyone to jump in after me. That's practically suicide." "He did," Layla mumbled just quite enough, so Quinn couldn't understand what she said. For some reason, she felt like Vorden had one-upped her on the loyalty scale. Just remember, if you need any blood, you can call me. You don't have to really be on Vorden," she said as she rushed out of the doctor's office. It was a nice feeling to have people worry about him. For the first time in his life, Quinn truly felt like he had friends. After Haley had given Quinn the all-okay to leave the office, he finally returned to his dorm room. Inside, Vorden was playing busy on a handheld device. "Hey man, is everything all okay?" Vorden asked. "They didn't find out you were a—" He looked around the room before finishing the last words. "Vampire, did they?" "Yeah, everything was fine. She said she could find nothing wrong with me, and my blood levels were normal, so she sent me back." As the two of them were talking away, a beep sound was heard from the door, indicating that it had been unlocked. The door opened, and in came Peter. "Guys," Peter started to say with his eyes watering up. "Get out!" Vorden shouted as he pointed at the door. "What?" "I said get out!" Vorden shouted again. "If you don't get out, Peter, I don't know what I will do to you." "But this is my room as well," he cried. "I don't care. Ask them to change rooms, but you are not staying here." Peter then looked to Quinn for help, hoping he would say something, but Quinn just turned his head away as his body was shaking. Vorden then went to his desk and grabbed a book, chucking it toward Peter, hitting the wall and falling onto the ground. "The next one is going for your face if you don't leave," said Vorden. "Peter, please just go," Quinn said. When Quinn spoke those words, it finally hit him. There was no redemption for him, no matter what he said or did, or even why. They had made up their minds. He was no longer their friend. He opened the door and closed it behind him as he left. With nowhere to go and no one to rely on, he stayed in the dorm room hallway, curled up into a ball on the ground, and cried himself to sleep. The next day, when the two woke up in their beds, they could hear commotion going on outside. As they opened the door, they could see a group had gathered just outside their room, and they were all circling around him. "What happened to him? Look, the floors are wet underneath. Did he cry himself to sleep outside? I thought I could hear something last night." A boy from the group then knelt down and grabbed Peter by the hair, lifting his head off the ground and waking him up. "So, it was you that was waking me up in the middle of the night," the boy said. Before deciding to do anything, the boy looked at Peter's watch and noticed he was a level 1. The boy himself was only a level 2. So he took this chance to show everyone he wasn't at the bottom of the food chain. "If you're going to stay out here like a dog, then you need to learn to shut up," he said as he lifted his hand and slapped Peter across the face. Peter was already defeated at this point. He didn't care what happened to him. What were a few slaps? This pain was nothing. What was the point of fighting back? He would only get hurt more. The only people who had bothered to help him in the past, he had tried to kill them. This is what Peter wanted. He wanted to be punished for his actions. As the boy lifted his hand to slap Peter again, he felt something grab his wrist. Then, before the boy could even turn his head, he saw a fist right in front of his eyes. The punch was so powerful, the sound of his jaw cracking could be heard, and the boy immediately was knocked out and collapsed to the ground. As Peter looked up through his watery vision, he could see Quinn standing there with a look of anger on his face. "I didn't do that for you," he said. "If anyone was treating someone like a piece of like that, I would have done the same." Without even looking at Peter, Quinn walked off with Vorden and headed to the canteen. After breakfast, the group was to go to their homeroom class for the usual morning lesson, before heading to combat classes. Everyone sat in their usual seats, which meant that Vorden and Quinn were sat next to each other, with Peter on the side. "They really did come back. I heard they got pushed into a portal by some second year. It's amazing they managed to survive." All of the students were talking about the two who had gone missing for a few days. It wasn't the talk around the school, but was talked about frequently in Dell's class, since the students belonged to their class. "Good morning, everyone. Now that everything's back to normal again, I am proud to announce that your first portal outing date has been confirmed and will now be moved to next week. So please prepare yourselves as best you can. Oh, and remember to practice with your teammates. The same teams that were registered before will be used for this outing." This meant that Peter would be on the same team as the others. Outside somewhere in the world, there was a city named Dreamland. There were only 2 ways to live in the city of Dreamland, to either be really rich or to become a part of the true Dream family, meaning swearing absolute loyalty to the leader and doing whatever was asked. In the center of the city, there was a skyscraper bigger than any of the others around it. Inside, on the very top floor, was a bald-headed man in a nicely fitted suit, sitting down in his large armchair at his desk. His name was Jack Truedream, leader of one of the big four families. Just then, a female wearing business attire had entered the room. "Sir, there has been a report that one of our family members has died. Send me the report. I'd like to take a look." The female then clicked a device in her hand, and in an instant, a holographic display appeared in front of Jack. He used his hands to navigate through the pages and quickly read through the information. But then he spotted something that interested him and started to zoom in, right on Ian's neck. "Alexa, bring me up the report from 2 years ago on Danny Fletchman." One of the strongest men that the Truedream had in their family. When he had died, it had come to a shock to him, and no one knew who or what had done it. Apparently, they coincidentally came across Ian when they were out looking for 2 students. I don't know much of the details. "Do you know what military base they are from?" "Military Base 2, sir." Jack then stood up from his chair and closed his eyes. Inside of him, he could see around 10 little flames swirling around his stomach. Each of them looked slightly different from the others. "It looks like I'm running low on abilities again. I guess it would also be a good chance to stock up as well." With morning lessons over and done with, it was time for combat lessons to start. Layla had come over with Aaron by her side to Quinn. The 3 of them headed off to the beast weapons class, while Vorden had already left for the elemental class. Now sitting in the room all alone was Peter, just blankly staring at the wall in front of him. Peter continued to sit there and think back at all the stupid things he had done. Every time a stupid memory came up, he would pull his hair, trying to forget it as if he was pulling the memories out of his head. He could feel something running down from the top of his head. He had pulled so hard and so much hair that blood was starting to drip from his scalp. As Quinn was just about to leave the second-year building to head to the Beast Weapons Hall, paused for a second right by the exit. Instantly the effect of the sun had hit him. "You are being hit by direct sunlight. All stats will be reduced by 70%. "Stephanie, are you freaking kidding me?" Quinn shouted in his head. Now, calm down," the system replied. "Well, honestly, I never really had this problem before. Back at the kingdom, we had plenty of items that stopped the sun from affecting us. Just take a look at your inventory. That ring you were looking at is given to the weakest of our men." The system was suddenly revealing a lot more information due to the outbursts. He then opened up Quinn's menu and went to show him the Shadow Skills tab. Out of the 10 skills, 3 had been unlocked, but 7 were still grayed out. "You just want to be able to fight in the sun, right? You see, the skill named Shadow Void, it costs a total of 20 skill points. I would recommend you unlock that next. This skill allows you to create your own space of shadows, blocking it from not only the sun, but outside viewers as well." While Quinn struggled to walk, Layla quickly came over and pulled out an umbrella over his head. "Vorden, looks like I'm needed more than you after all," Layla thought. "The sunlight is being blocked. All stats will return to normal." "Do you guys have to be lovey-dovey in front of me?" Erin said as she saw the 2 walking under the umbrella. "We're not a couple. He's just feeling sick. The sun gives him heat stroke easily." "What a wimp," Erin said as she walked off ahead. The 3 of them had finally arrived at the Marshall Hall and no longer needed the umbrella. The classes had begun as normal, with Leo asking the students to warm up by sparring with each other, but once again Leo had asked Layla to step away, as Leo wanted to be his opponent. Leo then took Quinn to the corner of the room, away from the others, making sure they couldn't hear their conversation. "Thank you for saving me in the portal world," Quinn said first, hoping to get on his good side by sucking up to him. "I was just doing my job. What happened to your gauntlets? There's no energy emitting from your hand." "They broke in the portal world. I'm sorry, I'll pay you back." Leo raised his hand, telling Quinn to stop speaking. "Boy, there is no need. Those weren't expensive in the first place. But for something to break some beast gear, you must have fought against some beasts then." Quinn started to laugh nervously. He wasn't prepared for this and didn't really know how to answer. "Oh no, one of those rat beasts jumped at me, and all I did was lift my hand trying to protect myself. The beast wouldn't let go, so I had no choice but to take them off and run." "I see," Leo said as he stood there silent for a moment. "However, my ability does improve my senses, and I can hear your heart beating ever so loudly." Quinn gulped as he was afraid of what the old man might say next. Now, Quinn, the truth is, I don't care what you are, but I only have one question to ask you. Are you on the humanities side?
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.